Hello, Seton.
Hello, Adrian.
I haven't seen you in weeks.
I know it's been crazy Thanksgiving and just been crazy busy. I had a death in the family, so I was
I'm sorry about your uncle. I tell you what, that's just
he was the best person. So
I really get that. I had that same uncle who I just adored.
yeah, he's the best.
You and I have not spoken in a few weeks with Murdaugh updates. And I think the last time we were going to talk, several things always are happening, was the 911 call. So give us a little backstory for anybody that doesn't know about the Murdaugh murder mystery in South Carolina.
So Gloria Satterfield was one of the 911 call is about Gloria Satterfield. And so she was a housekeeper, nanny who worked in the Murdaugh home. And there was a settlement where allegedly Alec Murdaugh stole a whole bunch of money, like $6 million, worth of money, $4.7 million worth of money that they were supposed to receive in settlement funds, and they never received it because he set up these fake accounts that he funneled money to, and so they never received the money. So finally, they just released the 911 call from the day that she died, which was in 2018. And Maggie Murdaugh, and it was a little eerie to listen to because Maggie, placed the call, and we now know that Maggie died. I don't know if people who haven't been following the story, Maggie and her son Paul were found murdered in their home back in June.
Alec Murdaugh's son and wife were found murdered. A year before that, or not even a year, Paul, the son that was found murdered, had driven a boat drunk. A young lady was killed when he hit a bridge, right?
And right. Well, there's a lot of controversy. There's actually, it still was he was never convicted of that. And reading through the documents, whether it was orchestrated or not, I don't know 100% that he was a driver. And I don't know that anyone would know that he was a driver. Actually, interestingly enough, this week, Mallory's boyfriend filed a lawsuit against Parker's, the convenience store that sold the alcohol to the Grape and Paul specifically. He used his older brother's fake ID. Right. And also Alex saying he should have known that he had a pattern of like reckless driving and all this. And they also, in his lawsuit, he brings up a little bit about Parker's had previously sold alcohol to underage people before. It actually referenced a case in Hilton Head where they sold alcohol to someone who didn't have an ID, who was impaired, and they encouraged the person to go outside and get someone else to come in there and purchase the alcohol. And the person did, and then they got the alcohol, and then they ended up running into a tree, and there were multiple fatalities. So there's that lawsuit that was just filed this past week too from Mallory Beach, the girl who was killed in the boating accident where Paul was the only person who was indicted on driving, but there's a lot of controversy that we don't know for sure that he was driving. I don't know that he would have been convicted.
But what we do know is we know Gloria Satterfield died while working at the Murdaugh's home. The Murdaughs made a 911 call. Later, Alec Murdaugh said, "Hey, I want to help your family," or said to her relatives, "We're going to get you a settlement." He got a settlement and then stole the money.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, he hasn't been convicted of it yet, but it does seem most likely that's what happened. I mean, there are two bank accounts set up under this faux corporation called Forge, which we talked about the last time, which was another company was also similarly named and was a legitimate company that was set up to run this kind of like settlement stuff where handling funds for minors or people who needed to have funds distributed over time. So yes, it does seem like that. And but we'll get back to the 911 call because we know the 911, and then we'll go into the Bank of America stuff. But so
the real question was this an accidental death with Gloria Satterfield? I think that's what we're all wondering.
Well, that's still under, it was reopened after all of that, because initially when she died, the coroner, it was called natural causes. So it was never investigated. And that was unusual because she had this fall, but she also had some other health issues. She had like some kidney failure and all this stuff. So I don't know. And she wasn't able to really talk. You know, she had a brain bleed, so she wasn't communicating. So her death was ruled natural causes, but obviously if you fall down the stairs and you're 57 years old, it's not really natural causes. So since then, it has been reopened. And, you know, SLED's investigating whether it's natural causes. I don't know that there's ever going to really be an answer to that, because she died and the only people at the house, well, and actually a little bit controversial. Maggie called 911. So we listened to Maggie. She's called 911. She says that, her housekeeper has fallen. She's, they need assistance. She's bleeding. And she gets really short, and she's a little bit curt with the 911 operator. And the 911 operator actually kind of gives it back to her. It's like, me asking you these questions is not delaying response for anyone getting there. And she asked the age of Gloria Satterfield. She doesn't know her age. She says she thinks she's 57. She's not sure. Asks about, and at one point she hands the phone off to Paul. And so Paul is on the phone and, asks if she's ever had any other medical situations. And he's not really aware of anything else that she had medically. I mean, at the time he would have, I think, been like 19, or maybe younger.
Right.
It was 2018. So 19 was when he had his boating accident. He was a little bit younger. So she had, and at one point he's holding up, it appears as if he like drops her. It was a weird phone call to listen to. And then he's giving descriptions to the 911 operator and says, hey, there'll be, asking for descriptions of the house. Is it right on the road or is it offset? He says it's offset, but there's going to be a guy on a gator who is going to, meet you out there. Fella, calls him a fella. And so we don't know who this fella is. I think another news source said that it was possibly another worker who worked there. And there's been a lot of rumblings about caretakers being involved in different things. So it could potentially be a caretaker.
So the call do you feel like it really helped you understand what happened? What was the accident that happened to her?
Well, they said she fell down the stairs, and she quickly said, I think it was like 8 stairs she fell down. It's been reported since that it was dogs. She did not hear dogs barking in the background. I guess what the family was told, according to Eric Bland, was that she tripped over some dogs, and that's what caused the fall.
That's what I thought I had read before. Yeah, Trisha's like, refresh us on this case. So Seton has a podcast called Murdaugh Family Murder Mystery.
Murdaugh Family Murders, Impact of Influence.
Murdaugh Family Murders.
We actually are on Oxygen. We have an Oxygen 2-hour documentary that's coming out on Sunday at 7. So tune in.
Yeah.
Or not.
Really glad to see that on Sunday night. So yes, it's a complicated story. It's in South Carolina. It's, this guy's an old South Carolina family attorney. And when his wife and son were found murdered, I think obviously people were like, what in the world is happening? Seton has given it a lot of coverage. And then this fall, Alec Murdaugh, come to find out, is being accused of stealing millions. and he gets shot in the head, he says, and then he blames this guy named Eddie Smith, who he says, yeah, he shot me. And Eddie's like, I didn't shoot him. He asked me to come fix his tire. So did Alex set the whole thing up to like look like he was going to get shot for life? I mean,
it's cuckoo. But have you seen some of the Eddie Smith stuff? Like, we all wanted to believe Eddie Smith.
Yes. Well, I started and it almost made me sad. I was like,
it did me too.
Cousin Eddie. So tell us what's happening with Eddie.
Eddie Smith has received $1.8 million in checks. And he went on national TV with his lawyer and said, I have never received a significant amount. I've done some handyman work for Alec. I never received a significant amount of money from him. So we had Eric Bland on our podcast, and Eric is like, no, he should have looked into his client a little bit more diligently. Like, Eddie, I mean, again, he hasn't been convicted of anything, but it does appear that he has he's received a large sum of money from.
Oh, 1.8 million, a large sum of money.
Yeah. I mean, that's more than doing some painting or fixing up around the house. I mean, he was allegedly did handyman work. I mean,
right. Yeah, anything. I might say anything over 5,000, but I'll give you another 20. Just, the price.
Well, and they were smart at the beginning. I mean, some of the checks, they tried to keep them under that $10,000 range that would alert, financial institutions that they need to look into it more. So they tried to kind of keep the payment small, but then the payments got larger. So,
and what are they for? What are we guessing? Drugs? Because
there was a drug. My guess is there is some drug ties. I mean, we know that Alec has said that he is a 20-year opioid addict. I know a lot of people don't believe that. Plan doesn't believe it. I think he may have had some sort of drug problem. I definitely don't think it accounts for the amount of money that is missing.
Right.
And last time we talked, there was connections to some drug gangs in Walterboro, South Carolina. I mean, there are drug connections, and this whole thing has drugs written all over it.
Yeah. Maybe I just am clueless about what things cost, but I just keep thinking, it just seems like drugs are just, he was an attorney, he was working. I wonder, can you really be a full on addict and work? Maybe I'm.
No, I don't think he was to the level that his attorneys are saying he was, because that doesn't seem to make sense. How could you be functioning in society? But I don't know. Maybe he was, but it definitely does not account for the amount of money that is missing. And there's more to the story than just him having an addiction.
And have we heard anything about Stephen Smith? So Stephen Smith was found dead in the middle of a road. They said, oh, it was a hit and run. But then after Maggie and Paul were found, they said, oh, we're opening up the Stephen Smith investigation because of new evidence. Somehow those were related. Have we heard anything about that?
There's been really no new evidence. I mean, we had Andy Savage was representing Sandy Smith for a bit of time, but apparently he's no longer representing her, and they have a new, but he kind of had said on media that they had an investigator and they were looking into multiple avenues. They had not been able to tie the Murdaughs to the case, and there were some other new leads. But since then, Andy Savage is no longer representing Sandy Smith. There's another attorney involved. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions there. As long as and also it's been 6 months since Maggie and Paul were murdered, and we don't know anything other than a very redacted police report. We have, Alex still being a person of interest, but we have no real information. I'm not saying that investigators aren't releasing. I mean, they've said there was not a threat to the public safety, but we really don't have a lot of any information.
Yeah, and if you say there's not a threat to public safety, to me, you're saying this was not random.
Right.
This,
we know
this
who did
was
it.
targeted.
And we know who did it. But it seems unusual that it's 6 months later and there have been no arrests made.
Right. Right. So it kind of calls the question, could Eddie Smith could possibly be with the 1.8 million? But I don't get what Alec had to gain, because do we know, was there any life insurance on Maggie and Paul?
So we have been told by their attorneys, and I think it's going to be, I don't think they're going to lie about it, because they've said there was no life insurance on them. I don't think that they're going to lie about it. These are some pretty professional people. They're not going to just make up that they're
Right.
not life insurance. But I mean, if there are marital problems, it stands to say, like, Maggie owned the house. She bought the Moselle property for $5. So if there were divorce looming and Alec had these debts, maybe he was like, I don't want to have to split up my stuff with her, because.
Right.
I mean, I'm just guessing. This is pure speculation.
Yeah. No, but then to kill your son, it's one
thing.
No,
that's where I don't feel like anyone would do that. I mean, you would have to be a psychopath to want to, like, okay, people kill their spouses all the time, but to kill your child is a different thing.
Or to be abusive. Alec Murdaugh is a lot of things, but he doesn't seem to be the type to be abusive to me.
No.
I mean, he if you listen to him on that 911 call, I mean, I don't find him threatening at all. I mean, I don't know him, but that wouldn't be my initial reaction.
No, that's not mine. But then we do need to talk about the whole Bank of America thing. So this week, Bland has filed suit against Bank of America.
Now, who has filed suit?
Eric Bland, who is the attorney. Oh, I don't have my notes. Who is the attorney representing the Satterfield family? So he has filed suit saying that I need the quotes. Shoot, hold on. I'll be right back. I'm getting them. I printed them out, but I forgot to get them off the printer.
We'll let you go. Yeah, it's very complicated. You can't just pop in and be like, what's happening? I mean, it's a refresher course. And there've been a couple. Nancy Grace did like a Friday night show. I think there's been a 2020 or 48 Hours or Dateline. Seton's got On Oxygen coming out Sunday night. That will be interesting. Complicated.
Okay, so in his lawsuit, on the very first line, he calls Bank of America the bank of fraud, like in big, bold letters, all capital. And he basically says that without Bank of America, this could not have happened for so long and hurt so many people. Like he really is saying Bank of America was involved in this, that they have required policies with anti-money laundering, and that they didn't do their job. And probably the best quote that they said is, there is nothing more, he calls them a money launderer, said they're nothing more than a high-tech laundromat. So, like, he speaks some pretty, like, he speaks some pretty harsh words about Bank of America. But they responded, basically saying, no, of course not. They said one of the things that Bland, who represents the Satterfield family, put in the complaint that is they didn't do their job by not requiring a tax ID when he opened up these forged accounts. But Bank of America responded basically saying that in South Carolina, the law is if you're a sole proprietor and you're opening a bank account, you just have to have a social security number. So they're basically saying they didn't have to do their job. So this will be played out in the courtroom for sure.
And the law in North Carolina is similar. When I open up an account for my, blog, vlog, whatever I do, I get checks made to tails, I put them in there. I don't have a tax ID. My accountant said I didn't need one,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's true. I mean, I've checked with John Bland, he's our legal analyst, and he said, no, you do not in South Carolina have to have a tax ID for that. It's okay to open it. But I mean, you would think I'm hoping that we can find someone in banking. It'll probably have to be someone who's retired in banking to talk to us on our podcast, because there is so much money that was involved. I mean, if Eddie Smith was written $1.8 million off of these, you would think that maybe some sort of red flags and checklists would go up. But I mean, I don't know, because I'm not in banking. So I'm hoping, I want to investigate that more.
Well, just like in a small town, it seemed, and I don't work in a bank either. I probably couldn't, because I'm like, can't keep secrets that well. But if somebody in my tiny town, and I was working at the, bank, and I'm popping in there, and Adrian's cashing checks for, 100,000 up to 1.8 million, you would think the people at the bank would be like, I mean, what the hell is going on there?
Yeah, they would be like, oh, something. Yes, I would think that something, but then they're very prominent. They're lawyers. They have all this money. Maybe they thought that was normal. I mean, I know in my small town bank, my person knows me, and if I forget my ID, she's okay to cash a check for $200. I mean, like,
Oh yeah. But it seems like Eddie Smith might have raised some flags.
Yeah, I think that some flags should have been raised. So I definitely want to delve into this more. And so, there's the other thing too. There's so much legal stuff going on that your husband should be here. But so Alex's attorneys, Harpootlian and Griffin, filed a motion basically asking Bland to stop talking. They're saying and they filed disciplinary actions against him, basically saying that they're jeopardizing their client's right to get a fair trial by what he's saying. So that is pending. So on Friday, I don't know. Wait, I don't think that's not Friday. So we have that's still pending. And then on Friday, Alec is up for bond again with a different judge, which is also really controversial. We don't know why. We're going to talk to our legal analyst about this on Friday, that they're saying the state grand jury is allowing this other judge to hear whether Alec should receive bond. It's a virtual hearing at 9 a.m. on Friday. So
why there's a new judge?
Well, so when I looked into that, what it said was, actually, that's on a different page. Sorry, this is a different page. They're saying that it's because it falls under the state grand jury. I don't know. I'm going to talk to John about this. It was because about a month ago, they said all things Murdaugh were going to be under this Judge Newman.
Right. I remember that.
So all things Murdaugh were going to be under this Judge Newman. But now, and then after Newman denied bond the second time, they said Alex's attorneys filed a motion to the Supreme Court, a writ of habeas corpus, basically saying it's not fair. This is unconstitutional. Why he would not. The psychiatrist basically said he wasn't a threat to society or a threat to himself. So it's unconstitutional for him not to get bond. So that is still pending. But now they're saying there's this other bond hearing happening. So I don't know whether the Supreme Court, and they put it under the grand jury. It's just very strange. So I do want to get some clarification from our legal analyst on exactly what is happening. Because when I briefly spoke to our legal analyst, he said it could be that, okay, he gets one ruling from this judge on Friday about bond, but then he gets a different ruling from the Supreme Court. So it's possible that there could be two rulings out there. Again, I am not a lawyer, so I am going to get some clarification on this and see exactly what's going to happen. But Friday is going to be a big day because it's highly possible that Alec's going to get out of jail on Friday.
And where will he go?
Well, he's going to go back to rehab because that's what we don't have access, obviously, to what the psychiatrist said, but what his attorneys have released is basically he's not a threat to himself or society. She recommended him to go to an intensive rehab program and have grief therapy and all these different things. So I think if he gets out of jail, he's going straight to rehab.
So what Bridget just said, he's not a threat to himself, yet he hired Eddie Smith to murder him.
Yeah, it doesn't. Right. There were a lot of questions about that. And people have said, like, how are you going to say you're not a threat to yourself if you alleged that you hired somebody to kill you?
Right. Right.
It doesn't really completely make sense, but it's up to the psychiatrist to make that determination. And then we haven't seen the report, but she's saying that he wasn't.
Listen, I think anybody, if you look at what happened, this last week in Michigan at Oxford High School with the shooter's parents who are, found in the bottom floor of a warehouse at 1:30 in the morning in a locked room. And then their attorneys the next day are saying, well, they weren't running away. They weren't hiding. They were scared. We should let them out on bond. So people can tell themselves anything. But we all can just use our own good judgment and be like, no, that's bullshit. No.
Well, and I will say that Alec probably has the best attorneys in the entire state. He hired the top, he's got the best people representing him. So they're going to file. I don't know. They're going to represent him well.
Does he have money?
They say they're representing him free. And they're saying he does not have money. I find this all strange. We know still that there's a lot of transferring of funds, and that's why there's this hold on the assets, because when Alec went in jail, he transferred power of attorney to his son, and they sold off some stuff. They paid off some mortgages. They sold a hunt club membership. So, he may not have a ton of cash, but he definitely has some assets.
Well, and didn't one of the brothers say, oh, well, he owes me X amount from a loan?
Yeah, that was really struck a lot of people the wrong way, as it did me as well. So there are all these, definitely, he has so many cases against him right now. We know there's the beach litigation. There is, all his own law firm is suing him. There's, the Satterfield family. The Satterfield family, but he's also, his attorneys have filed motions saying, oh no, we shouldn't actually have to owe the money because they've already been made whole, because they've received, they were owed $4 million, but they've already received over $6 million of settlement funds. In that case, they've already been made whole, so I shouldn't have to owe them money. So there's that pending.
Wait, when did they get $6 million in settlement funds?
They have. So they got money. They got all the money back, the attorney's fees from Corey Fleming, who was the attorney who originally represented them.
Take his 30%.
Right. They have received a settlement from PMPED, the law firm that Alec previously represented, worked for, and his brother still works there. They have settled. It's a confidential settlement, so we don't know exactly how much they received. They received they got their money back from Chad Westendorf, who was the personal representative. So he gave his fees back, and then also the bank that he works for has settled with them in a confidential settlement. So all in told, they've actually received over $6 million in settlement funds. And they originally were only, owed, the original settlement was what, like 4.3 or something $million. So, and then the other 500,000. So Harpootlian and Griffin have filed a lawsuit basically or filed a motion to dismiss saying our, Alex shouldn't know anything because they've already received more than what they should have. And of course, Blanche, there's damages, from not being able to get this money for this amount of time and all that stuff. So we'll see how that plays out, because I also asked our attorney, our legal analyst, I was like, well, wouldn't everyone just wait for somebody else to pay up first so you could just get out of jail free card?
Not to mention the fact that I don't care if other people, if I owe you, Seton, $5 and other people chip in and give you money, I'm not like, well, now I don't owe you, because
it does not seem to make sense, and it seems against anything anyone would say, right? Like, you would always say, oh, well, I'll just let my friends chip in and I never have to pay anything.
Right.
It doesn't seem, it seems very counterintuitive. So we'll see how it's possible that passes. I don't know. But the other thing with that motion that they filed was they were talking about holding off the civil stuff till the criminal stuff finalizes, because the criminal standard is different from the civil standard. So if Alec takes the fifth in a civil matter, it's more damaging than if he takes the fifth in a criminal matter. Like, if you take the fifth in the criminal matter, it's not a presumption of guilt, but it's a little bit different in a civil matter. Again, this is being explained to me by an attorney. I'm not an attorney. And so they're saying that the criminal has to happen before the civil because of the burden of proof. Does that make sense? Wait, sorry, you're muted. Hello? Wait, hold on. Can't hear. I can see you, but I can't hear you. Hello? Oh, hey. Are we back?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Are you there?
I am.
Not you.
I am. I'm here.
Hold on, I can't hear Seton.
Can you hear? I can hear you.
Seton?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you. I'm texting you.
No sound.
Hello?
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Seton, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you. I'm going to take you out and then come back in. Okay, can y'all hear me now? Okay, you can hear me both. I cannot hear Seton. Okay, I'm going to invite her back. We have technical difficulties.
All right, I can hear you.
Seton, I cannot hear you. It is the weirdest thing.
I don't know.
So annoyed.
I don't know.
Private chat. What? Seton says, I can hear. I can't. Doggone it. Everything was fine. And calling. Okay. I don't know what else I can do about this. Schmuck. Hold on. I'm going to. Seton, you keep talking and wrap us up.
Okay. All right, I'm going to wrap us up. So we talked about the lawsuits that have been filed, like where were we? I think we were talking about trying to get to make land stop talking. I think that's where we were. Not totally sure. But all right, this is really, I can't do it with just me. I think we just have to continue this on Friday, because I think Friday we're going to hear whether Alec gets out of jail on Friday. So, which I kind of think he might. And we'll see what the fallout of that is. All right. Peace out, people.